I was a little bit rough around the edges myself in high school. So it was just natural to connect with some of these kids. And my job is my hobby. And it's a great place when, I'm in my 50s, right? To find yourself in your 50s. It is a collective responsibility of those of us that have stable lives to just reach down and help these kids.
Welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen, and on today's episode, very excited, we have Laura Vesga. Laura is the principal of North Gardens High in Miami Gardens. She's going to talk to us about just her life, her journey, and all the really amazing things they're doing at North Gardens High. So Laura, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really, really excited.
Of course. It's my pleasure. We've been doing this podcast for about 2 years, and I think you are the first educator that we've had. So I'm very excited. I'm, as some people know, I was a high school basketball coach for 10 years. I'm now teaching the criminal law and criminal procedure courses at American Heritage High School. In addition to previously being a coach, I'm obviously a lawyer, do a lot of different things, but I love education. I love people that really care about making, or just helping young people go through life and make the right choices, the best choices for them, personally and with what we do at the firm professionally. So welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about North Gardens High, just so we can kind of get that context of what you're doing now. Then I want to backtrack a little bit to just your life, what brought you here, and then we can go real deep into all the amazing things that you're doing at North Gardens High.
Cool. Yeah. So North Gardens is a high school in Miami Gardens. It is a public charter school. It is an alternative setting. So we traditionally service students who have been disenfranchised from their home schools. So the home schools reach out to us to support the kids and hopefully get them back on track to rejoin their cohorts.
Really cool. Amazing. And how long have you been there?
This is my third year.
Okay, great. And so we'll get in and dive deep into this, because I'm fascinated just from me knowing a little bit about your story and what you're doing there. But let's go back. Just how did you get here? Your career as an educator. Where did it start? Where did it come from?
Right here in Miami. I am a Miamian. I was born in Queens, New York, but I've been here kindergarten.
Okay.
Did elementary school in Miami Lakes, middle school, Miami Lakes, Kendall, and I'm a product of Miami Dade County Public Schools. Education has always been my passion. I knew in high school I wanted to be a teacher. And one thing developed into the next. I was in the classroom for 12 years, and then just slowly crept into leadership.
Let me go back to your high school days. So you knew you wanted to be a teacher in high school. Why was that? Like, what was it about teaching that just inspired you at a very young age?
It just. I think when I was young, it was as simple as a schedule. It wasn't. It was a lot of time off. When you're young, you're your summers off. But once I started doing the work, I fell in love with special education, which is where I ultimately ended up getting my bachelor's and my master's. And it was just working with the kids, and specifically with kids that kind of were a little bit rough around the edges. I was a little bit rough around the edges myself in high school. So it was just natural to connect with some of these kids and hear their story. But what drew me there was just connecting with the kids, being able to provide a sense of purpose for them through our conversations. And I really just enjoyed the work early on.
And so you said you spent 12 years in the classroom. So what classroom were you in? Was it the special
Oh,
ed?
it was, yeah. I did. I was trying to find my niche, and I did. I dabbled with. It was all special ed, specifically with students with emotional and behavioral disorders. But the grades changed depending on the opportunities that arose. I actually did kindergarten, first and second grade for 1 year. Did not enjoy it. I mean, I love the little kids, but my passion is really middle school and high school. So I made it back to middle school and high school, and that's pretty much where I've been since.
Middle school is, from what I remember, and what everybody's telling me, I have two young ones, but everybody says middle school is the absolute worst. Just puberty, hormones, everything, boys and girls, and just
That's what everybody says. Yeah. Everybody, when I tell people that I love middle school, they're like, "You love what?"
Yeah.
But it's an interesting age, and they're not adults yet, but they're not kids, right? It's that quirky age where they're trying to find themselves. And I love that age.
Yeah, great. Well, one thing that I've learned that we do at the firm, it's all about attracting and repelling, right? So our marketing and our type of clients, there's certain clients that work really well with us. There's certain clients that don't. And there's certain type of lawyers and employees and our team members that work really well based on our core values and don't. And I'm sure it's the same, right, with teachers. And you want to find your passion, right?
Yes.
So there's many people who middle school, not for them, teaching dentist school, right? But for you, that's what you love, that high school. Those are your passions.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that love the little ones, right? And you might like the little ones and they're super cute, but that's not your passion. So
yeah, and
it's great.
And in education, that's what it is, right? Not everybody wants to be an art teacher. Not everybody wants to be a social studies teacher. It's very diverse, multifaceted profession. And for me, it was definitely the middle schoolers and the high schoolers that that's where my passion, where I discovered my passion was. It was a process, definitely a process of discovery for me.
Yeah, and that's important because then work doesn't feel like work when you truly love it. And especially when you're helping people, I mean, I have so much respect for teachers and nurses, especially those. Everybody knows those are my two favorite clients that we have in the firm. And for example, let's say it's a DUI or something, right? Which we've seen, a huge uptick in since the pandemic started, or just teachers and nurses, having, some mental health issues or maybe some substance abuse issues, just with how difficult it was. But I love them because, they have a profession. They care about their profession. They're in a helping profession just like we are. And they're not wealthy, but, they need help from us. And they're willing to invest in the best law firm to help them through it, even though, we may cost a little bit more, right? And I just love it. Those are my type of people who understand our value, but are in a giving, caring profession, right? That are professionals. And it's just so important.
I consider myself very fortunate. It's my profession is a giving profession, but like you said, it's a unique experience to grow up and mature into your own shoes, and get to love what you do. Right? I always tell people I love my job. My job is my hobby. Right? Yes. And my job is my hobby, and it's a great place when I'm in my 50s. Right? To find yourself in your 50s as you're kind of like. Retirement's still far away, but it's closer than it used to be, right? And you're thinking about what you want to do as you land your plane. And when most people think about retiring, they think about doing their hobbies and their passions. And it's nice when the two merge, when your work is your hobby and your passion. And I've had the opportunity to step away from the school and, act in director roles where you're still in education, but you're removed from the school building, right? You're working with the more administrative side of education. And the work was good and it was fulfilling, but it was too far removed from the kids. Right. So I'm back in a place and in a position where thankfully, I work for an organization that respects the principal's role in the building, and kind of lets you do your thing, and that's when it gets really fun. is when you're in the building as a principal and you have leaders and you have an organization that supports your vision. So you're not necessarily implementing somebody else's vision. You get to have fun with your own vision and your own team. And that's what's making North Gardens, I think, unique right now.
So I am very excited to talk to you about that and how that works with leaders and vision, and and how you can implement your vision, especially in a bit of a bureaucracy such as the school system.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to talk about that. But before we do, you mentioned something about you're in the classroom 12 years, and then you want to start taking on leadership roles. And then you get to a point where you're taking on more leadership roles and you're in a director position, but you're away from the kids, and the kids are the reason for everything, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm sure you've seen, there's a lot of teachers that do progress through, and whether it's leveling up or whatever you want to call it, they transition into leadership and director positions. And I think that's a lot like me and my role in the firm right now, because I'm not going to court anymore myself. I'm not doing trials anymore. I'm the owner of the firm. We have 6 attorneys, about 25 total people now. And as far as criminal defense law firms, we're one of the absolute largest in the state, if not the country, because just criminal law. We don't have big firms in criminal law. But one thing that I've always struggled with is not wanting to be completely away from the clients. I love our clients. Our clients are the reason that we do what we do. We chose criminal law because of love of helping people. Criminal defense because of a love of helping people, not because we just love and are fascinated with criminal law. It's because of the people. And so for me, making sure that I'm still able to talk to our clients, to hear their stories, to feel the relationships, to have and be a part of the success is fantastic, even though I'm not the one in court, rolling up my sleeves, battling every day.
Still connected.
Right, because I could never imagine being part of this firm without having the client connection.
Yeah.
Right, and I would be miserable. It would just make me miserable. So is that kind of how you felt when you had moved into that role?
Well, I was actually looking forward to moving into leadership role. And, there are those people that have like their eye on the prize of where they want to get professionally.
Right.
I don't know that was my path, Adam. I went a certain direction, but then life takes you another direction. And it's almost like you have some control over it. But at the end of the day, sometimes you land in a place and you're like, wow, like I like this, right? So I sought out the leadership and the directorships somewhere else, because I thought that was like the next phase of my career, and I had the mentors in place that helped me do that and helped me achieve those goals. But when I finally got there, I missed it. I was, I'm not a desk person, right? So in a school, you're going to hit your 10,000 steps before you get home, right? You don't have to walk around the block to get to the 10,000. By the time you get home, you've hit your 10,000 steps, and there's always something going on. And you're constantly connecting with people, constantly connecting to their stories. And that's the piece that I kind of stumbled on missing, So it was a process where I kind of learned about myself and what truly were my passions. And so then I'm thankfully old enough, wise enough, stable enough to kind of like choose to go the path that was giving me the most satisfaction. And it was definitely back in the building with the kids.
Well, again, if it's your passion, it doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work.
It'd be 8, 9 o'clock at night and you're doing stuff, thinking about stuff. It's still taking your mental energy, but
Correct.
It doesn't feel like work. It's exciting and invigorating.
Exciting and invigorating, exactly. So, yeah.
So now you talked about leaders and vision. So let's talk about how you got to North Gardens. What was that process like? And then what were your initial challenges in taking over? Look, it's an alternative school.
Yeah.
it's a public school, right?
Yes.
But I'm sure there's definitely some unique challenges to alternative schools. And then having a new principal, what's that like to come in and transition?
Yeah. So I was actually recruited by my current organization. So I was in one of those director positions that I was talking to you about. And a recruiter reached out to me via email. And I was like, I'm kind of happy where I'm at. And they're like, let's have the conversation. I had the conversation. I went to go visit the program, and I was like, it would be nice to come back here.
The wheels started turning.
Yeah, the wheels started turning.
Okay. You're sitting there. Were you walking to school? Did you walk to school?
I walked to school.
And you're probably like, okay, I can change this. I can do this.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I watched, I obviously interviewed with former principal, Danny Fernandez, who had been promoted to a regional director in the organization where I'm currently at. And just the way that he interacted with kids, the way the kids interacted with him was something that I had never experienced before. It was very laid back, right? The kids, I've worked in big traditional high schools, inner city and out of inner city. And it's, the standard high school. You go to class, you raise your hand, you need a pass to get out of class, North Gardens is more of it's more of like a college setting in the sense that the kids, first of all, it's super tiny. It's 9 classrooms, right? 9 teachers, 20 staff all together.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things that impressed me the most was that the kids would walk into Danny's office and he'd be like, "Oh, hi, Josiah," or "Hi," by name. Everybody knew name. He knew everybody. He knew all their stories. "How's your mom doing? What happened to you last week? Why were you absent 3 days?" And I'm like, what is happening here?
A lot different when you're comparing that to a high school in Miami that has 2,000 or 3,000
kids, right? We have 400. We have 2 shifts. And because it's one hallway, because the school is so small, you really develop that one-on-one. It's a family. The school is a family, right? There were challenges. You mentioned what challenges did I encounter? I think that anytime there is change for students who have had too much change in their life, there's pushback, right? Most of my students need consistency, right? In order to feel stability, right? So I think that initially that was difficult, was them getting to know me and me getting to know them. Alternative ed is very unique in the way that these kids have literally been disenfranchised from educational programs, right? Literally, they've been either, have not had the option to stay in a traditional setting, or had not had the option to stay, not so much because they got kicked out, but because they weren't being successful, right? The majority of our kids are 2 years behind on credits. So you're talking 11th and 12th graders that are in 9th grade or below credits. I have seniors that come to me with 3 credits. Most middle schoolers are coming out of middle school with 2 or 3 credits now because they're taking, Algebra 1 now in middle school. They're taking biology now in middle school. And they need to do that in order to join the advanced programs in high school. Right. So our kids are coming significantly behind, 2 or 3 grade levels behind most of the time, 2 or 3 2 or 3 years behind in reading. 95% of our kids are 3 or more years behind in literacy and reading. So those were some of the challenges, was just getting to know the kids, getting to know alternative ed. Coming from high schools, like you said, that were 3,000, 2,000, 1,500 kids to a school of 400. And it's really, 450 and it's 2 shifts. So it's really 200 kids, kids, at a time. So it's like super tiny. You know the kids, you know who they are. You recognize when they don't come to school. And establishing that rapport with them in order to, to keep the
trust.
To keep exactly
right. And I'm sure these students, they've had so much. They've had a lot of people let them down.
Yeah.
And so they probably have trust issues. And you said consistency. There's probably a major lack of consistency in their own lives that they thrive. They need that. They crave that. And coming to school should be the one constant in their lives. And then you have a big change with the principal that they were close with, right? And you come in. So did you have any challenges with the teachers or the staff?
Every time I think I've been given an opportunity to be a leader with a new team, it takes time to develop. And there are I don't think I've ever taken over a team where the team remains solid. There's always shifts and movement. People have to believe in your vision, and people have to support your vision, right? So I think initially we were a little wonky as we got, and the year I was there, it just happened to be so that we had about 4 or 5 new teachers. So everybody was getting to know the program, and we were getting to know each other, and the kids all had a new principal. So it was, the first year was really, really wonky because of that. But now I have a pretty solid staff, and we're all pretty close. It's not easy to recruit for alternative ed. Not because the job is so much more different than a traditional school, because the word alternative is scary to people.
Right.
There's a lot of stigma associated with that word, and it's not what people think it is. It's not what it used to be. Alternative ed is now an alternative pathway. Some kids are just looking for a smaller school. So, the majority of our kids are parents or the main caretaker, so are working full time, right, and contributing financially to their household. So it's an alternative program, but it's not alternative ed in the way that people imagine it. And for that reason, sometimes it's a little bit hard to find staff. But once people come in and see the program and they come in for the interview, they stay.
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
Right.
Stay.
Well, I'm sure you can tell when people come in, go through the interview, you can feel the passion. Is there the passion or is there not, right? Attract and repel.
Exactly.
And just like you could probably see, they come in with wide eyes thinking, okay, this is, right? They're getting excited about it. Can make you even feel like the way you were when you toured the school, walked the halls, and you were thinking, okay, I could really do something, make a difference here.
Yes.
So you talked about vision a few times. So what is your vision for the school, and how are you implementing that?
I always tell my staff, we're Saks Fifth Avenue, right? We're not, no offense against Walmart. It's an amazing store, right? But I always tell my staff, we are Saks Fifth Avenue. Your rooms have to look like Saks Fifth Avenue. Our customer service is Saks Fifth Avenue. I tell my staff, I've returned a pair of really expensive used shoes at Saks Fifth Avenue. And I told the salesperson, it gave me a blister, and no problem. Miss Vesga, let me get you another pair of shoes, right? And that's the experience that our kids and our families have usually not gotten,
right?
Because they are either the student that doesn't speak English, or they are the student who's not being successful because they're overwhelmed at the size of a traditional high school, or they're the student that's having issues with mental health or addiction. And there's always some kind of guilt, that the parent is carrying, and they usually haven't been made to feel like the red carpet parent.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, that's my vision, is giving the parents and the students that, elite private school experience.
So
that's really important to me.
So it's so interesting that you say that, because at the Rossen Law Firm, what we do, we always say, our goal is to give Ritz-Carlton level customers.
Oh, look at that.
So that's what we say, right? And when you go to a Ritz, it's welcome back, Mr. Ross, and thank you for choosing us again, or great to see you again, right? There's little things. If you ask, oh, where's the pool? It's, they don't say, well, go down there about 100 feet, make a left, go down the stairs, and your second right, then your third left, and it'll be there 100 yards in front of you.
Exactly.
It's, let me walk you over there and show you.
Your robe.
Right.
I'll give you an extra towel.
Yeah.
Would you like me to set up your chair?
Right, exactly. They never say no, and they anticipate, your needs. And so we've been saying that here at Rossen Law Firm for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and that's a big thing. And I can't say that we always hit it, but we strive for it. We train on it. We talk about it all the time.
All the time.
It's Carlton level, customer service. But some of our staff members have never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton. Mm-hmm. And so they don't know. And one of the things I want to do is I would love to do a retreat there where we can have everybody.
You let me know.
Pampered. Yeah, so of course you can come. You can come with us. And and have that retreat and be pampered and just understand, okay, how, and it's how do I feel here versus at, just another, an ordinary hotel. So I'm assuming that not all of your teachers, your staff, your administrators have ever purchased, or shopped at Saks Fifth Avenue. So how do you train on that, to let them know what the experience is like and how they can then help curate that experience for your students?
That's really important, right? Because like you said, not everybody has that experience of returning a pair of used shoes at Saks Fifth Avenue and them getting you a new one, right? Or the Ritz-Carlton. Personally, I think that providing opportunities for reflection, right? And really pushing you to that, pushing your boundaries a little bit when getting my staff to reflect is really important, right? And I'll give you an example. The last teacher workday, we did a little bit of role playing, and I know it's sometimes cheesy for adults to role play, right? But I try to make it fun, and I'm like, all right, guys, today we're going to be parents, and we're going to tour the school, right? And you get to pick which classroom you like best. So I want you to pick the classroom that you like best. I want you to have that classroom in your mind, and I want you to list the reasons why you like that classroom. And I want you to, on the other side of the sheet of paper, I want you to pick the classroom that you like the least. And I want you to list the reasons why you don't want your kid in that classroom. And we walked every single classroom, and it was anonymous so that the teachers didn't feel attacked. If
right, no politicking.
No politicking, and I didn't want the teachers that were struggling to feel put out there either, because that's not effective either, right? And then when we came back into the room, I allowed everybody to share the feedback. They weren't allowed to write the room number on it. It was all descriptions, right? I like this room because it's welcoming. The teacher has put extra effort with lighting. I have a teacher that turns off the lights, the regular lights, and she bought lamps. Okay. And the kids love it. They, it's dark in there. They come in, they turn on their lamp. She's got ambient music playing. She's got bean bags on the floors.
So more welcoming, less sterile environment.
It's sterile, and then you walk into another teacher's room and his desk is a mess. There's garbage, and so they got to read their feedback without it being like, you're the one with the dirty classroom, right? And then we spoke about, why as a parent, why were you turned off by that classroom that felt dirty, right? What made you want to pick that teacher? And then we have conversations, and I ask them, how many of you have had the opportunity? I know I've had it, and part of training teachers is also to be vulnerable for them, right? I've had the experience where with my children all grown up now, but when they were little, especially in the elementary school, when you didn't get the good teacher, you knew.
For me, everybody knows, you got to get so-and-so, you don't want this, right? Even college, the law school.
Even the school, when you had the crappy teacher and you knew who the good teachers were and you wanted your kids in that good teacher's classroom. So that's what we do. And then, I'll circle back around to the teacher with the dirty room. And I'm like, how'd you feel about that? What are we reflecting? How can I help you? Is it financial? Because teaching is a very expensive a trade for you have to buy your own things every year most of the time in the state, and the company does support, but really, really, really to personalize your classroom to a level that is significant. The teachers are going in their pocket, so I'll help financially if that's the reason. I'll find the means to help them financially. One teacher asked me, she's like, can I just get the other teacher to come decorate my room? And I asked the other teacher, do you mind going and decorate your room? And she's like, no. And I'm like, great, I'll give you the money.
Well, that's great. That's great. And then what happened? How did it turn out?
Great. Great. And it's we're having some difficulty maintaining, right? But again, it's support, and it's circling back around and providing support. And what, that teacher might not have the best room, but he has amazing rapport with the kids, right? So it's just balancing and supporting the staff that needs to be supported.
Strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yes.
Everybody has
correct. But definitely having the bar, right? And Saks Fifth Avenue is a non-negotiable, right? So if somebody else has to do it for you, then just make sure you buy them lunch,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yep.
But it is a non-negotiable. Every kid deserves Saks Fifth Avenue classroom, and a parent should not be able to tell me I want to go to that classroom because it's a good one. They shouldn't even care which classroom I put them in. So it's just providing those expectations. That's the vision, right? In a nutshell, is providing that quality of service visually and the education and the tutoring and the way that we speak to kids. We don't curse at Saks Fifth Avenue. Right. You're not spoken down to at Saks Fifth Avenue. So it's everything from the physical environment to how we speak to kids to how we address parents, regardless of what the space the parent is in, right? So
there's a certain level of customer service.
Yeah.
Because your students are your customers, their parents are your customers. Mm-hmm. Whether they're directly paying or not, they are the customers.
Correct.
So now you're on year 3 of this this new school and this vision. So how has it been from year to year now, that you're in year 3? Are you really starting to see it take shape? And what are some of your proudest accomplishments?
So yeah, we're definitely growing, right? I think year 1 was very difficult because of the staffing issue. We were all new for each other, right? The staff not only was I new, but a lot of the teachers were new too. That was getting to know each other's quirky personalities, it was a challenge. Year 2 was difficult because I think taking it from, survival mode to learning how to do things better and in a faster, more efficient way, right? And now year 3 is like, okay, we're getting efficient and we're getting better. Right. How can we make it special now? Which is how we're bringing, now it's we have the Sunday. Now what kind of sprinkles do we want to put on it, right? So which is where the partnership with Coursera came in.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So Coursera is an online platform that offers certificates through different universities and organizations like Google, right? Right now we're offering e-marketing. We decided to do e-marketing through Coursera, and you go into Coursera and you take the courses. A lot of universities use it. We are the only high school right now in the country offering CTE courses, career technical certificates through the Coursera program.
Now, before we go deep into this, who came up with this idea?
One of the teachers.
Okay.
So we were struggling with our CTE program. We were having a really hard time getting buy-in from the kids.
And CTE
is Career Technical Education. So in education, the movement is going back to not just a college-centered approach, right? So when I was in high school, you kind of had the option, that our high schools had, like Greece, right? They had the mechanics room in the back where the kids would go, that's how old I am, by the way, right? We had this, we had home ec, we had typing, right? So yeah, we had those things, and then literally, and I watched it happen here. They closed all of those programs down here in Miami-Dade County. They, you'd have high schools that would have these auto paint studios in the high school, super cool. And from one year to the next, closed down, gone. We had schools that had cosmetology programs, and from one year to the next, just gone. It became very college focus, right? The academies started coming in, dual enrollment started coming in, and just the whole focus became on college. And now we're swinging back in the other direction where, we're keeping the dual enrollment programs, but we're also keeping the dual enrollment CTE programs, which are more career technical education focused.
And I think people should have choice. I think that's what it all boils down. Absolutely. I do think over the last 20, 30 years that there's been a movement to force too many students into college when that's probably what's not best for them. And then they waste years, time, and money, and probably happiness trying to be a square peg in a round hole.
Absolutely.
When there's other things that can give them some financial success and stability, and give them a happier level, because not everything needs to be in the classroom.
Correct.
Right? Not every job in our world is a purely academic job or career. So why are we forcing people into that?
Not only that, but I don't know if it's just my kids, or I don't know if it's a trend across this generation, but a lot of kids don't want to go to college anymore. Right. Even kids, if they have the capacity to go to college, they just, I don't know why. I liked college, right?
I did too. All right.
4 degrees, I liked college, but it's that the kids are changing. The humans are changing. And the way that they look at education.
And every generation changes and evolves too. But I also think too, especially for young kids these days, it's the YouTube generation, the social media generation. You can be successful without needing, right, and being very intelligent, but not needing that level or that degree to do something. Obviously, if you want to be a lawyer, doctor, accountant, you have to go to college for some certain professions. But you can have a successful career being a young entrepreneur, investing in real estate or businesses without necessarily going to business school.
Correct.
Because of all the information that's out there online.
And that's exactly circling back to your question, how we landed with Coursera and e-marketing. It was a teacher's idea that brought it up to me, but he brought it up to me. He's like, Laura, we got to do something for these kids. I mean, we have kids that have over 500 followers that have managers for their YouTube accounts. I mean, it's just mind blowing. And it's like, what? Who has a YouTube account and a manager? Who's making, $50,000 a year making braiding hair?
Right. Yeah.
We found out we had all these entrepreneurs in the building. We have a t-shirt designer that has his online, and it actually has a website, right? We have a girl that was doing braid that's actually helping pay the rent at home. We started finding out we had all these, alternative ed kids that were actually entrepreneurs, that were actually entrepreneurs, not being successful with school.
Well, what's more interesting to them, right? Learning more about braiding hair and trying to make money and build a following, or worried about European history from 200 years ago?
Correct. It's practical, and they need to survive, right? A lot of my kids are in survival mode. So that's how he's like, we got to find some kind of e-marketing or some kind of marketing course or some kind of business course that they could do. We were doing culinary at the time, like the traditional culinary CTE program. And kids were joining it, but more as like a fun thing, right? They didn't want to be chefs. It was just the course we offered, right? And when we did, we surveyed the kids to see how many would be interested in taking any marketing course. And it was just like, wait, how many? Right? So he did a little bit of research, stumbled to Coursera, got a pilot going. And then, it's grown into.
Did he contact them? Did you?
No, he just, he did everything. He would come to me. He's like, can I call them? And I'm like, Neil, call them, like, can I reach it? They're willing to do a pilot. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Right. So, and we just got back from Vegas a month ago because he actually got nominated for an innovation award by Coursera.
Oh.
Yeah. So super excited about continuing to develop that partnership. And continuing to provide courses through that platform. But it's amazing. It's just taken off as another kind of like niche that we didn't even schools don't even know it's there right now. We're the only high school in the country that's doing it right now. And Coursera's partnering with us right now to do a study to see about the, to look into the impact of the program on our kids and stuff like that. So, we're going to keep growing the partnership and keep finding innovative ways to provide for our kids, and to give them experiences.
And so, obviously the teacher, that's a major credit to him to be innovative and think outside the box.
Yeah.
But also I think that's a great credit to you as a leader to inspire that and encourage that from him, because I'm sure, as you've probably seen through your career, many other leaders or principals or department heads or whomever would have just said, nope, that's not the way we do it. It'll never work. They're how are you going to get in touch with them? No, all right, 15 different objections instead of, sure, go for it. Let's do it.
He always tells me that. He's like, Laura, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to pull this off. And that makes me feel very happy. I always tell my staff, I don't like to micromanage people, because once you get into micromanaging, there's no opportunity for innovation, right? So I always tell my staff, I'm like, you're the principal of that. You're the principal of that. Yeah. You're the principal of your classroom. They're like, can I go on a field trip? And I'm like, I don't know. Can you? So.
Right, where you want to go? Why? Tell me why it's going to be great and let's get it done.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So I'm there to support them being their own principal of their area and of their rooms. And it's amazing. We have a science teacher. She's actually a med school that is a med school student that took time off from med school because she needed to take time off from med school, and she's got microscopes now. We managed to get her some microscopes. Really cool. It's just really cool stuff like that. Really cool, innovative stuff. And I think that that comes with this. I think it's all part of the Saks Fifth Avenue culture, right? Is creating that culture where we want to give your best. What is the best in your classroom, and what can you do to make us more Saks Fifth Avenue than we are already?
And a true leader helps develop other leaders from within, and that's something that we've really been focused on here as we've been growing. Is okay, now we have our leadership team, but who else? How can we inspire, encourage other people in any position in our firm to grow into and developing internal leadership, external leadership, just right, and just grow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's again a credit to you, because the leader sets the tone for the culture. Right? And it seems like the culture in your program, in your school, is one of growth and opportunity and getting to yes, and right, being innovative, and that's top down. That all comes from the ultimate leader. So that's fantastic to hear. I think it's what you're doing.
We do the same though, like honestly, I think if you're a people person and you're people centered, you're always trying to find a way to people around you to help them reach their potential,
right?
And it's not just your clients; it's the people that service your clients too, right? Because it's all part of the big picture.
Absolutely. Right. And look, it's totally different if you were not in a people business, right? Everything we do is about people. Everything you do is about people.
Exactly.
Within the team, to, our clients, somebody's customers, your students. It's all about people-centric. So absolutely. So Laura, what you're doing is just so amazing. What other kind of parting words do you have for our listeners here? Because this has been an amazing deep dive into the really cool, great things that you're doing there at North Gardens. But, is there any advice that you would have, or just kind of parting words, or anything that was maybe that we didn't touch on through your life that was a defining moment or just a key to your success?
I think my message would be that the youth and the young people are really our most valuable resource, right? And Miami is a city that is full of so many resources. And if you're a parent, or if you know a child, or if you know somebody who's struggling as far as getting access to education, that could feel very overwhelming, to the family and the student. There are solutions. Schools like mine, organizations like my organization, schools like North Gardens, we're there to help and support. And it is a collective responsibility of those of us that have stable lives to just reach down and help these kids.
Right.
It's a collective responsibility.
Right. And every single day, you and your staff and your teachers are modeling appropriate, stability, appropriate behavior, appropriate goal setting, and everything as well. So I think that's really important to make sure that your team is always being professionals.
Yes.
And, have a loving, caring, giving environment in a stable environment.
Yes.
You are modeling that for the students. Absolutely. So,
Thank you.
So, okay, what's the best way for anybody listening to this to get in touch with you?
Google us.
Okay.
North Gardens High School. We have a webpage. We're also on Instagram. You could see our kids being silly on Insta. North Gardens High School.
If anybody wants, and they just call up the school and say, I saw Laura on this podcast, I want to talk to her, what can I do?
Absolutely. And we also have, we on our website, we also have a contact page that people can fill out. Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. So Google North Gardens School.
North Gardens High School.
North Gardens High School. You're easy to get in touch with. So anybody listening to this, feel free. We won't give you Laura's cell phone, but you can find her on Instagram and on the school's website.
Awesome.
I know you'll do anything you can to help anybody. So thank you so much for being here. This was fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this has been great. I know our listeners will love this. So thank you so much.
Pleasure.
All right.